She didn't slam the door. She swung it open like it was hers. Leather heels bit into the floor. Designer coat trailing behind her like a cape. Sunglasses still on, even though the fluorescent courtroom lights did nothing for them. She didn't look left, didn't look right. She walked straight to the defendant's table like she was arriving at a private tasting. Not a public hearing. I'll make this quick, she said, dropping a black card on the table with a soft thud. Some of us actually have real money to manage. The gallery went silent. On the bench, Judge Nora Blake didn't move. Mid-60s, silver hair, blunt cut, posture relaxed but alert. The kind of judge whose calm didn't soothe you. It warned you. The clerk announced the case. Whitfield versus Santos. Parties, please stand. The woman in heels barely shifted. The bailiff took one step forward. Ma'am, up. She sighed, loud, theatrical. God, fine. She rose with an exaggerated slowness, giving the cameras time to catch every angle. State your full name for the record, Judge Nora said. Brianna Whitfield, she replied, voice smooth as a luxury car ad. Co-founder of the Whitfield Group, owner of 2 restaurants, 3 properties, and half of this city's patients. Someone in the gallery snorted before catching themselves. And your relation to the plaintiff? The judge asked. I am the plaintiff, Brianna said. She flicked her eyes toward the other table. Is the thief? Judge Nora's gaze shifted dot at the plaintiff's table. The man Brianna had dismissed with one word. Sat a lanky man in a too big dress shirt and worn-out shoes shined within an inch of their lives. Dark circles sat under his eyes like permanent bruises from lack of sleep. His fingers were still stained faintly orange from spices that never seemed to wash off. State your name, the judge said. Diego Santos, Your Honor, he said. His accent was soft, his answer polite. I used to be head chef at Ms. Whitfield's flagship restaurant. Used to be, Nora repeated. And you're countersuing for unpaid wages and defamation? Correct. Yes, Diego said quietly. Brianna scoffed. Defamation. He should be grateful I ever put his food under my brand in the first place. That's enough, Judge Nora said. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't have to. The edge in it did the work. She looked back down at the file. Miss Whitfield, you're suing Mr. Santos for $50,000, she said. You allege he stole a rare diamond necklace from your personal safe during a staff party at your home. You've reported him to the police, to your investors, and to anyone who'll listen. Exactly, Brianna said. He betrayed my trust. I've built an image. A life. People like him don't get to tear it down. People like him, the judge echoed. We'll come back to that. She turned to Diego. How do you respond? She asked. Diego took a breath like the air itself was heavy. I didn't steal anything, he said. I cooked. I served her guests. I left when everyone else did. I have never even been near her safe. That's a lie, Brianna snapped. The cameras cut out that night. The only one who could have done that is staff. And he was the last one in the house. Judge Nora tapped her pen once on the bench. A sound so light it shouldn't have meant anything. Everyone in that room knew it did. Double quotes, Miss Whitfield, she said. You film every champagne pop in your life on your phone. Yet you expect me to believe the only time your security footage disappears is when a necklace vanishes? Brianna smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes anymore. I don't control the cameras, Your Honor, she said. My security contractor does? Ask them. We did, Nora said. And we will. But first, we're going to talk about what happened the night your necklace allegedly disappeared. The judge leaned forward slightly. Mr. Santos, she said. Walk me through that evening. From your point of view. Diego folded his hands together to hide the tremor. It was the restaurant's anniversary, he said. She threw a party at her house for investors. 25, maybe 30 people. I was told to handle all the food personally. No mistakes, she said. My name is on this. He flicked his eyes briefly at Brianna, then back down. We loaded everything into her kitchen at 4 p.m., he went on. I cooked until 8. Servers came at 6. Guests arrived at 7. Around 10:30, she said I could come out and show my face to the investors. Shake hands. And did you? The judge asked. Yes, he said. For maybe 20 minutes. Then I went back to finish dessert. I left around midnight. Staff left in groups. Her driver dropped me at the train. And when did you hear about the necklace? Nora asked. Diego's jaw tightened. The next day, he said. I came to the restaurant for brunch prep. Achur was there. She was there. 2 men in suits I'd never seen before were there. They pulled me into the office. Shut the door. He swallowed. She said her grandmother's diamond necklace was missing, he said. She said the cameras had mysteriously failed. She said only staff could have known where the safe was. And that I was the only one who walked the house unsupervised. Brianna laughed. Short, sharp, ugly. I gave him access to my home, she said. You know how stupid that looks now? Judge Nora swiveled her gaze toward her. What looks stupid, she said, is bragging about your own lack of boundaries as if it helps your case. Brianna's jaw clicked shut. Diego continued. Asterisk. I told her I never went upstairs, he said. She said if I just told the truth now, she'd maybe not press charges. I said I had nothing to confess. She fired me on the spot, just like that. The judge asked. Yes, he said. No severance? No last paycheck. Achur handed me a termination form. For cause, theft under investigation. He stared at the table. I lost my apartment a month later, he added quietly. Nobody hires a chef with theft on his record. Not when her name is on the other side. Judge Nora watched him for a long second. Then she turned back to Brianna. You say this necklace was worth $50,000, she said. Do you have proof of that? Brianna's smirk returned. Of course, she said. Receipt, appraisal, insurance policy. I'm not stupid, Judge. I don't rely on trust. Good, Nora said. Because as of now, trust is the last thing you'll be getting from me. She nodded to the clerk. Put Exhibit A on the screen. The monitor flickered to life. On it, a scanned copy of a jewelry appraisal and a purchase invoice from 3 years prior. The heading, Lumiere Fine Jewels. Item, 1 platinum set diamond necklace. Value, $49,800. Ms. Whitfield, this is the necklace in question? Nora asked. Yes, Brianna said. Obviously. And you insured it? The judge asked. Yes, for $60,000. Judge Nora's eyes narrowed almost imperceptibly. Interesting, she murmured. Because according to the claim we obtained from your insurance company, you already collected that $60,000 3 weeks before this party. The air left the room in a single silent vacuum. Diego stared. Brianna's smile cracked straight down the middle. You, what? She said. Judge Nora lifted another sheet of paper. This is your payout statement, she said. Dated 21 days before the party. Item, platinum diamond necklace, Lumiere appraisal attached. Status, lost. Claim, approved. Amount, $60,000. Deposited into Whitfield personal account. The gallery erupted in whispers. You told them it was lost. The judge went on, then told this court it was stolen at your party weeks later. You cannot lose and then re-lose the same necklace, Miss Whitfield. Unless, of course, you think the world runs on whatever story you tell next. If you were sitting in that courtroom watching this, would you already be convinced she's lying? Or do you still think Diego could somehow be involved? Keep that answer in your head, because the next thing that plays on that monitor makes lying almost impossible to defend. Nora let the chaos simmer for a few seconds. Then raised one hand. Silence snapped back into place. Ms. Whitfield, she said calmly. Why did you file a claim saying this necklace was lost almost a month before this party? Brianna blinked rapidly, brain scrambling for a script. That was a different incident, she said. The necklace went missing for a few days. We found it again, misunderstanding. I didn't realize the claim had gone through. I was going to correct it. Going to? Nora repeated. You never did? I have people for that, Brianna snapped. Paperwork isn't my job, but accusing staff of theft is. The judge asked. A few people in the gallery couldn't help but quiet me. Brianna clenched her jaw. I did not invent a story, she insisted. Someone took that piece. The insurance thing is separate. Judge Nora looked down at the stack of documents, then back up with eyes that said, "You're not wriggling out of this." "Let's talk about the separate part," she said. "Mr. Santos, after you were fired, did you receive any communication from the police?" Diego nodded. Asterisk double quotes. "Yes, Your Honor. 2 detectives came to my apartment," he said. "They asked where I was that night. They said Ms. Whitfield reported I left early and acted suspicious." Brianna opened her mouth. The judge's hand went up again. She closed it. "I told them I worked until midnight," Diego went on. "I showed them text messages from the driver, from the sous chef. They asked if they could look through my place. I said yes. Did they find anything?" Nora asked. "No," he said. "They apologized. Set off the record, cases like this get complicated when rich people lose things." The gallery chuckled darkly. "Building manager?" the judge said, glancing toward the side benches. "Is Mr. Lee present?" A man in a simple blazer stood. "Yes, Your Honor," he said. "Jason Lee, property manager from Ms. Whitfield's residence." "Mr. Lee," Nora said, "did this necklace ever show up on your system as lost and found before this party?" He cleared his throat. "Yes," he said. 3 months ago, Ms. Whitfield called security in a panic. Thought it was stolen. We reviewed hallway footage. Saw her toss it onto a couch coming in from a car, then knock it behind a cushion. We found it. He looked uncomfortable. "She thanked us," he added. Then joked. "Good thing my insurance already thinks it's gone." A collective "ooh" rolled through the seats. "That was a joke," Brianna said quickly. "Obviously. People take everything so literally." Judge Nora's expression didn't change. "Mr. Lee," she said, "is there internal camera footage from the night of the party?" "Yes," he said. "From the common areas. Her interior cameras are private, but we monitor entrances." "And did my office request that footage?" she asked. "Yes, Your Honor," he replied. "We sent it." She nodded to the clerk. "Let's play the clip from 1:43 a.m. she said. The screen crackled and then lit up. A grainy but clear view of a private elevator lobby. The party was long over. No more laughter, no more servers gliding in and out. Just Brianna, barefoot now, eyeliner smudged just enough to be human, stumbling slightly as she stepped off the elevator alone. No Diego, no staff. In her left hand, the necklace. Shimmering even in fuzzy security cam footage. The room inhaled. On screen, she paused at a mirror, admired herself, then disappeared down the hallway toward the master bedroom. 30 seconds later, a man in a navy blazer, her personal jeweler, if anyone recognized him from magazine shots, stepped off the elevator. Carrying a velvet case, he disappeared into the same hallway. 2 minutes later, he reappeared, case now closed, shook her hand, and left. A timestamp in the corner of the video. 48 hours after the insurance payout. Judge Nora didn't look at the monitor. She looked at Brianna. "What are we watching here?" she asked quietly. Brianna's throat bobbed. "My jeweler picking up pieces for cleaning," she said, voice strained. "That doesn't prove." "It proves," the judge cut in, "that you had the lost necklace in your possession after you were paid for it, and that you then moved it into someone else's hands while telling your insurer it was gone. That is fraud." She let the word sit. "Heavy, ugly true. It also proves," she added, "that at no point between that payout and this party did Diego touch your safe." Brianna's composure began to fray openly now. "You don't get it," she blurted. "None of you do. You all sit there, judging me, like you've never been desperate. Like you've never done something stupid to keep your life from falling apart." Diego's head snapped up. "My life did fall apart," he said softly. "Because of you." The judge's gaze swung back to her. "Desperation," she said, "explains behavior. It doesn't excuse it, especially when your fix is naming someone else the criminal." She turned to the clerk again. "Next exhibit," she said. "Employee file, Diego Santos. New document on the screen. Performance reviews. Your own HR records," Nora said. "Show Mr. Santos had 3 consecutive exceeds expectations evaluations. No prior write-ups. No discipline. In fact," she flipped a page, "last year you wrote him a glowing letter for a culinary magazine feature. Called him the heart of my kitchen. Brianna glared at the words like they'd betrayed her. I did that. She spat. For my brand. His food made me look good. That doesn't mean he's incapable of stealing. Maybe not, the judge replied. But when I put that next to this, she held up another sheet, an email from your crisis PR firm. If we don't pin this on a rogue staff member, she read, quoting, investors will see this as negligence at the top, signed, your publicist. The pieces were assembling faster than even the cameras could track. A pattern emerges, Nora said, setting the papers down. You misplace a necklace. You get paid for it. You secretly keep it and move it through private channels. Later, as your business starts to wobble, you look for someone to bleed instead. Her eyes cut to Diego. He was convenient, she finished. The gallery felt that the word hung there. Convenient. Not guilty. Not even suspicious, just easy to sacrifice. If this is all true, someone in the back whispered, she fed him to save her Instagram. Judge Nora heard it. She didn't disagree, Miss Whitfield, she said. You've built your empire on being relatable while living in a world your staff cleans up behind you. You walk in here and expect me to take your word over theirs because your shoes cost more than their rent. Brianna's lips trembled. I've worked for everything I have, she said. I grew up with nothing. I'm not some spoiled princess. I fought. I sacrificed. And somewhere along the way, the judge said, you decided other people were acceptable collateral. She leaned forward. You came into this courtroom thinking you'd punish a chef, she said. Instead, what you've done is invite a very bright light onto your own bookkeeping. Brianna stared at her, finally starting to understand just how badly she'd miscalculated, because the worst part hadn't even walked into the room yet. The worst part was waiting outside, in a gray suit and a tight jaw, holding a different kind of file, one stamped with the logo of the attorney general's office. The side door opened with a soft click that cut through the murmurs. A man stepped in. No TV polish, no dramatic flair. Just a government-issue gray suit, a worn leather briefcase, and the kind of expression people in trouble feared. Not angry, just sure. He approached the bench as the clerk whispered something in Judge Nora's ear. She nodded, then looked back at Brianna. Miss Whitfield, she said. This is Investigator Colton from the Attorney General's Financial Crimes Division. He requested to observe today's proceedings. Colton gave the slightest nod. Afternoon, Your Honor, he said. Miss Whitfield? Brianna's perfect posture crumpled a fraction. Financial crimes? She repeated. I haven't been charged with anything. Yet, he said mildly. The single syllable hit harder than any lecture. Asterisk Judge Nora didn't smile. But something in her eyes said, actions meet consequences. Investigator, she said. Anything you wish to put on the record at this time? He opened his briefcase and pulled out a thin folder. Thin, but heavy in what it represented. Yes, ma'am, he said. Our office has been looking into a pattern of insurance claims associated with Miss Whitfield's properties and business accounts. 5 in the last 18 months. All high value. All for items she still appears to possess in later social media content. He flipped open the file, including, he went on, 2 pieces of artwork supposedly stolen from her restaurant, a lost watch, and this very necklace. Gasps rippled again. Brianna's hands clenched into fists. You've been investigating me? She sputtered. For a while, he said calmly. This case just accelerated interest. He turned to the judge. We appreciate the court allowing us to receive copies of today's exhibits, he said. They'll be useful. Judge Nora inclined her head. You'll get them, she said. Every last page. Diego watched this exchange with a mix of vindication and dread. Vindication that she was finally facing something scarier than her own mirror. Dread, because sitting this close to power, clashing with power, was always dangerous for people like him. Mr. Santos, Colton said suddenly, turning toward him. We've reviewed your bank records. No unexplained deposits. No asset spikes. No overseas transfers. Nothing to indicate you profited from any theft. Diego nodded silently. We also noted, the investigator added, that after your termination, You sent 3 unanswered emails to Miss Whitfield, asking her to clarify to the police that you denied involvement. He opened another document, and he said, replied only once. My lawyers advised me not to communicate. Understood? The line, dry and cold, landed like a slap now that it was ripped from its digital context. And read out loud. Brianna actually flinched. Hearing her own words, Judge Nora's tone softened. Just a touch as she looked at Diego. I'm glad someone read those, she said. So am I, he replied. Voice low. Asterisk. The investigator stepped back to the side. Content to watch now that his presence had done its job. The judge folded her hands. Miss Whitfield, she said. You told this court with a straight face that you were the victim, that you trusted your staff and they betrayed you. In reality, betrayed them and your insurers, your employees, your investors repeatedly. And when the walls started closing in, you picked the person with the least power to shove into the fire. The words were blunt. They needed to be. Tears pooled in Brianna's eyes, but it was impossible to tell whether they were for her own unraveling or for the people she dragged down with her. You think I wanted to be this person? She said, voice choking. I hated people like this when I was little. Women who stepped on us because they thought our uniforms made us invisible. I swore I'd never. She broke off. Disbelief contorting her features. I became her, she whispered. Judge. Nora didn't rush in with comfort. That is the only accurate self-diagnosis. You've given all day, she said. Gallery was pin drop quiet. I spent my childhood watching. My mother scrubbed tables. Brianna went on, words tumbling now. Listening to people call her girl or cleaning staff like she didn't have a name. I cried when she couldn't buy me shoes that didn't hurt. She laughed once, bitter asterisk. I told myself if I ever made it out, no one would ever talk to me like that again, she said. I didn't realize I would end up talking like that to everyone else. Layla watched her, emotions warring on her face, anger, recognition, a strange pull of empathy she didn't want to feel. You didn't just talk like that, Layla said. You wrote it. You put it in systems. You turned it into records I couldn't erase. Brianna nodded weakly. I know, she said. And I can't unwrite it. But I can. She trailed off at a loss. Start by saying it clearly, the judge said. Right now. On camera. For whoever believed you the first time. She gestured between them. Look at him, she said. And tell him and anyone else watching who actually stole from whom. Brianna's eyes locked on Diego's. I stole from you, she said, the words ripping out like splinters. Not your things. Your reputation. Your stability. Your sleep. I took the story of you and replaced it with one that made me feel safer. She wiped at her face, mascara streaking. You walked into my kitchen with nothing but knives and recipes, she said. You left with a label no one deserves. Diego's jaw clenched, tears glimmering but refusing to fall. Why? He asked. Why me? You had board members, consultants, ex-husbands, people with power. Why me? Because you wouldn't fight back, she said, honest in the ugliest way. Because you'd sign anything just to be near the stove again. Because the system believes people like me before it even hears people like you. A harsh, quiet truth. The judge nodded once. At least you're not lying about that, she said. She leaned back, picked up her pen, and started to write. The law, she said as she wrote, can't fix your childhood, Miss Whitfield. It can't strip you of your fear of going back there. But it can, and will, stop you from using that fear as an excuse to burn everyone else. She finished the last line. Everyone stand, the clerk called up. They did, even Brianna. Without prompting this time, because she finally understood standing wasn't optional anymore. Mr. Santos, Judge Nora began. Voice steady. This court finds that you did not steal Miss Whitfield's necklace. You did not tamper with her safe. You did not benefit from any alleged theft. Diego's shoulders sagged with a relief so deep it looked painful. Instead, she continued, you were used as a convenient scapegoat in a scheme that had nothing to do with you and everything to do with Miss Whitfield's fear of losing her lifestyle. She turned to Brianna. Your Claim is dismissed, she said. With prejudice. Brianna's eyes closed for a beat. That takes care of the lie, the judge went on. Now we deal with the damage. She looked at Diego again. You lost your job, Mr. Santos, she said. Your housing. Your professional standing. You were subject to a police investigation. You've been turned away from employment. He nodded. I've been doing dish shifts under a different name, he admitted quietly. So my face doesn't scare managers? The gallery reacted with a soft, collective ache based on your documented earnings. Missed raises and opportunities lost, the judge said. This court awards you $75,000 in damages from Miss Whitfield personally. A sharp, choked sound escaped Brianna. 75, she began. If you're about to say you can't afford it, Nora cut in. I'll remind you of every luxury transaction in these statements. You may need to sell some things. I think we all know where you can start. A ripple of dark humor rolled through the room. Additionally, the judge said, my office will issue a letter for Mr. Santos addressed to any prospective employer, clarifying that the prior allegation of theft was false and retaliatory. Copies will go to the police department, your former landlord, and your professional references. Diego blinked hard. Thank you, he said. It didn't seem like enough for what it meant, but it was all he had. Now, Ms. Whitfield, the judge went on, your situation is more complicated. She glanced at the investigator in the corner. The Financial Crimes Division will handle your insurance pattern, she said. The Labor Board will handle your pension issues and any unpaid wages. This courtroom, however, will do what it can in the lane it has. She ticked points off on her fingers. 1, she said. You will pay Mr. Santos what I've ordered within 90 days. If you fail, his attorney is authorized to pursue lien and garnishment on any non-exempt assets. 2, you will correct the record with the police. In writing, a formal statement withdrawing any insinuation of his guilt and affirming your own role in misrepresenting the facts. Colton, the investigator, nodded slightly. He'd be asking for a copy. 3, Nora continued. You will, within 30 days, provide your employees with a full accounting of their pension fund, and you will commit, in writing, to a repayment schedule to be monitored by the appropriate authorities. Whether you still own your company by then is not my concern. That those workers are not left in the dark is. Brianna looked like someone had kicked out the last leg of her chair, but she didn't argue. 4, the judge said. You will publicly apologize to Mr. Santos, and by publicly, I mean on the same platforms you used to frame the story. If you have 1 million followers for your brunch photos, they can hear you say his name without the word thief attached to it. A sharp exhale of approval passed through the gallery. Brianna began, asterisk. This is not a branding opportunity, Nora warned. No sponsorship, no soft lighting, no hashtag to turn it into content. Just a straight, unsponsored, unedited video. My office will review it before you post. The influencer in Brianna visibly wilted. And finally, the judge said, tone dropping, you will attend financial ethics counseling. Real counseling. Not a mastermind retreat in Bali, 16 sessions. Documentation required. Because whatever story you told yourself to justify, what you did needs to be unwritten before you're ever trusted with other people's money again. For a moment, everything was still. Then she turned once more to Diego. Mr. Santos, she said, you may not feel it now, but walking away from that kitchen, painful as it was, might be the one thing that saved you from being pulled further into her mess. You did good work for a bad captain. Don't let this convince you you're not good at your craft. He nodded, eyes bright. I just want to cook, he said. Without all of this. The judge allowed herself a small, genuine smile. Find a place, she said. Build your own name. One not written in someone else's fear. She looked back at Brianna. And you, she said, have to decide whether you're willing to be known for something other than how perfectly you pose. Next to things other people paid. For the line cut deeper than most sentences her critics had thrown at her online judge. Nora picked up the gavel. This court stands for a simple truth, she said. addressing not just the room, but the invisible audience beyond the cameras. Power doesn't make you untouchable. It just makes your fall louder. She brought the gavel down. Judgment for the defendant on the original claim, she declared. Judgment for the plaintiff on the counterclaim. Court is adjourned. The crack echoed, final and oddly cleansing. People began to move. The spell broke, but the story, for the two people at the center of it, was nowhere near over. Not for Diego, who would have to walk into a new kitchen and hope the only thing they cared about was his food. Not for Brianna, who would wake up tomorrow to more notifications than she'd ever seen, and realize for the first time that not all attention is a win. As they both gathered their things, their eyes met one last time. I meant what I said, she murmured, voice hoarse. About being sorry. I know, he said. I just wish she'd meant it when it could have saved us both a lot of pain. He headed for the exit. Shoulders straighter than when he'd walked in, she sat a little longer, staring at the now empty bench. No ring light, no live icon, no comment section to sway. Just her, the weight of a verdict, and the realization that the one thing she'd always tried to buy, respect, might only ever come when she finally started living like the people she'd spent years stepping on were real. Outside, the cameras were waiting, but for once, what mattered most wouldn't be what she looked like walking past them. It would be what she did after they turned away. So ask yourself, if you had Brianna's fear and Diego's life in your hands, would you have made a different choice? Or would you, like her, have told yourself a story until the only person left who believed it was you?